right, everyone. Welcome to another episode of How to Solve an Event Planning Nightmare Like a Pro. My name is Melody Dixon, CEO and founder of Pro Event Planners, curators of eco-focused events. Today, I'm going live in two spots. When I look here, I'm looking at Instagram. When I look down here, it's YouTube. So, let me tell you about the time that I did a wedding and it was so off schedule that I don't even know how we made it through. Um, the good thing is that it wasn't my fault. Let's just put that out there. But I paced myself so well, I was able to jump in and support this bride so that it wasn't as bad as I was picturing in my mind that it would be. So let me give you the backstory. It was a few years ago. I did a wedding and it was through a referral, but the lady wanted this grand wedding, couple hundred people, but didn't have the budget for it. So I said, here's my price for my full package. Here's my price for partial. And here's my price for day of coordination. Then I went through and explained to her the benefits of having each. And she's like, you know what? The partial coordination is the one for me. I like the price. And, I have some family members and friends who are DJs and caterers and all that, and I can pull them in. So you don't have to do it. And I said, I like to work with professionals because they have standards and they understand that a wedding isn't just a one-time affair if it comes through a planner. It's repeat business when the vendors get the business directly from the planner most of the time. Yes, it's not unusual that the client can rehire the same vendor for another thing, but vendors really put their best foot forward for event planners because event planners fill up their calendar, their booking calendar. All right. So this bride chose the partial package. And that package is for the couple who has done a good portion of the planning themselves, but they need support in fine tuning some things, maybe getting some more vendors and getting professional support for the rest of the event and the day of coordination. So she said, yep, that's the package that she wants. So she booked the package, and from day one, she was kind of holding on to information. I think because she didn't complete the task. I have like a wedding timeline checklist, what to do a year out, 9 months, 8 months, 6 months, so on and so forth until the day after, like very detailed. And we went through it together. It took 2 hours between questions and explaining and everything, 2 hours on Zoom to explain it. All right. So she decides, okay, that's the package. I'm going for it. I got this. You explained it well. Let's go. Fast forward now to the actual wedding day. It just went downhill because she turned in information late, and the people that she had on her team or the people that she hired were not professional. So they just sauntered in whenever, just, on their own. So it's wedding day and I have a timeline. I have everything. I've reached out to all the vendors, including the people she's hired. And I said, I'm your point of contact. Here's the thing. I'll see you on the day off. I'll be there early so I can show you where to set up when you arrive. The usual, right? Let's start off with the setup. So the bride wanted to use her own decorator. And I said, okay, if the venue allows us to be in the building at this particular time and cocktails start at this particular time, then this is the window that she has to set up. So she has to have quite a few people on her team to set up really quickly and beautifully. Okay. Turns out she didn't have enough people. So my team jumped in to help her. Okay. Then now, let me skip to the ceremony now because this is the reception, which is not at the same venue. So they set up there, and I go to the church. I'm like, okay, my people have the venue. They're helping the decorator with her stuff, and everybody else is fine. I'm waiting. Minister finally shows up. Minister shows up maybe like 30 minutes or so before the ceremony. This is the first time I'm meeting the minister because the minister decided that she's not going to be attending the rehearsal, and she's been doing weddings all her life, and so she knows, the usual. She knows what's done. I'm like, okay. So she shows up. I run through the itinerary with her. She agrees. Okay. So now it's go time, and we're waiting for the limo. And I'm calling the bride, and I'm calling the mother of the bride, and I'm waiting. Bride shows up an hour late to the wedding. And when she shows up, she was hyperventilating and not feeling well, which I was very concerned because I'm like, this is your wedding day. You don't want to like pass out. I don't know if it was because it was hot, but she was in a limo, something, and there's AC. I don't know, but my team and I, we got her some water. We were fanning her down, and myself and her dad was there talking with her and trying to, calm her down and all that. So that's now an hour and a half late. So we get into, she's fine. I line everybody up. The ceremony starting. Everybody's on the stage. Great, right? The minister decides to do her own ceremony situation that was not what she and I talked about 30 minutes before the start time. And the bride didn't even know that the minister was going to do all the things that she was going to do. So that threw another wrench. So now at this time, we're like 2 hours late. Hey, Monique. So now we're 2 hours late. So the bride was an hour late. When she came to the church, she was kind of sick and fainting and kind of dizzy for like 30 minutes. And then the minister decided to veer off script and do her thing. So that's another 30 minutes. So 2 hours. Okay. By the time we get to the cocktail hour, the bride showed up still a little bit later than was necessary. And while I lined everyone up, her DJ, which she hired, decides to run home for something that he forgot. So now we're another like 20 minutes late. So that's 2 hours, almost 2.5 hours late. It's a lot. And the good thing is that they had pro-event planners to help them navigate through all the lateness that her vendors did. And that's what happens when you, hey, Dahlia, when a bride hires her own vendors, if they're not professional, then they will be late. The bride was late, hence the limo was late, and it's just like a snowball effect. So I am going to share with you, if you do not have pro event planners on your team to help you kind of regain the lost time and help you navigate through the challenges of hiring your vendors that you didn't vet, you just maybe eeny, meeny, miny, mo, or in the case of this lady, they were family friends. So the DJ was a family friend, the MC was a family friend, the caterer was a cousin who wasn't very professional and held on to the menu for the food until the day off and showed up with soup with no bowls, no spoon. And of course, my team jumped in and ran to go get some things. So that's what happens when clients hire their own vendors that they don't vet. And that throws off the whole timeline of the event. So today we're going to talk about time management in events. And yes, that was, thank God, a one-off kind of a situation. All my brides, most of them have been late, but not that late. And for the most part, they trust my vendors. This particular lady decided to use cousins and family members because she thought that would save her money. That was what she explained. All right, so I am going to share with you some time management tips so that your event doesn't have to go through any of that if you've decided to do your event on your own. All right. My name is Melody Dixon, CEO and founder of Pro Event Planners, curators of eco-focused events. We support clients who are steeped in all things sustainability. That means it's in their home life, it's in their business, and it's in their events. They hire me for their events to make sure that there's no single use waste containers, um, no plastic, no waste of energy, none of that. But I also support people who have no idea about sustainability. They know that they're wasting a lot. They're wasting a lot of food at the end of their events. There's tons of food to give away or throw away. There's money wasted as a result and time wasted as a result. So I show them how to make tiny eco-focused steps that over time and compounded allow them to save money and have a great event. Now, what's sustainability? It is meeting the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. I like to explain it as if we're all expansive, creative people. We want to invent things, we want to create art, we want to start a business, all that good stuff. We get to do all of that without wasting energy. And as a planner, I get to show you how to do that for your events as well. Now, there are three pillars to sustainability. The first one is the environment. We get to reduce what we're already using, reuse what we have, and recycle. And I like to squeeze in a fourth and call it upcycle. That means you convert an old thing that you want to throw away into something brand new that can get a whole new life and extend and start the whole cycle all over again. The second is economics. Yes, when you start to do eco-focused things like change out all the light bulbs in your house to become LED, you'll spend money, but over time, you'll see that your energy usage is reduced and you'll save money that way. The third is social responsibility. That means we all get to take care of each other like a community. We all get to eat, we all get to have a place to sleep, healthcare, and a job as a means of taking care of our family and friends. All right. So when it comes to planning a great event, time management skills are everything. Between attendees, organization, and speakers, planners need to be at the top of their game. Let's just throw in brides, late brides, and vendors that weren't vetted, and all the things from that story I told you at the start of this live. Negating all of that, if you follow these 6 tips that I'm about to share with you, you'll be able to have great time management at your event. The first one is to get clear on your goals. That means decide on the purpose of the event. If it's a wedding, we know what that is. Introduce two families together, have a great time, and celebrate. If it's a grand opening, you're introducing your business to the community because you're doing this new thing and you want to say that you're open for business. Get clear on the purpose of the event. Number 2 is to plan ahead. I like to use lots of checklists and I like to pack days or a couple of weeks in advance and organize everything. So everything we'll need for the bar is already grouped here. Everything we'll need for the gift table is here. Everything we'll need for the kitchen is already packed so that on the day of, we're loading things in groups and we're unloading it in groups. And so when we get to the venue, I'll say, whoever's in charge of the bar, take all the things for the bar here, go set up. Same thing for the kitchen, same thing for the decorations, same thing for the church, same thing for the meeting, just always organized in groups. So I plan ahead to make sure that, and I have a checklist so nothing gets missed. Number 3, utilize tools. Tools can look like an actual toolbox, like what I carry. It has little things that you may need. You'll have a bottle of water, like what we gave the bride, who in the story I was telling you earlier, she was dizzy and kind of fainting. I had water on hand. I have extra batteries. I have a nail file. I have lip gloss. I have pins. Any little thing that may come up to provide a quick solution for whatever is happening. That's in my toolbox. Tools can also look like using an Evite app so that you can communicate to your attendees. I use WhatsApp for my event staff on the day off. So we're all in the WhatsApp group, every instructions on how to get there, information on dress code and who's doing what and where things are, all in the WhatsApp. So everybody knows there's one place to go get all the information and also ask questions. Number 4, delegate. If you're planning your own event, you can't be host and cook and decorator and all that all at once if you don't have the experience in doing so. Delegate. Get all your friends and family to help and assign people tasks. You manage the bar, you receive the food from the caterer, you help with the decorations, you help with the greeting the guests, all of that. Just delegate so that you, as the host for the event, will be able to have a bird's eye view of who's doing what and what the timeline is so that you'll have everything done by the guests by the time the guests start to arrive. Number 5, leave time to put out fires. That's a big one because you never know what can happen. In that scenario of the bride who hired her own vendors, she hired her cousin to do the catering. And I said to her, is he a professional? Does he have a catering business? She's like, well, he did a baby shower for our cousin not too long ago. He did the food. And I said, how many people was he cooking for? And she said, 30. I said, well, this is a wedding for 200 plus people. Is he prepared? Does he know how much food to prepare for that amount of people and what he'll need to manage the kitchen for that? She's like, yeah, he's just starting his business and I want to help him out. I said, are you sure you want to use somebody who's not a professional, who has no formal training, is just starting up his, dream business? Do you want to risk that on your wedding? She's like, yes. He showed up 30 minutes before the cocktail hour started. And so guests were already arriving because most of the times when an event starts at, let's say it starts at 7, be prepared for guests to start arriving at 6 because some may leave their house early because they're afraid they were going to get lost, or some may even come, in a good midpoint. Maybe they time themselves, who knows? But you want to leave an hour between the start time and the guest arriving. So should they arrive early, everything is already done. Well, this particular bride did not. She hired her cousin and he showed up 30 minutes before the cocktail hour started. And all he dropped off a pot of soup. So I said my staff called me because I was at the church and they said, this man just came and dropped off soup. The soup isn't really hot. So I don't know how long ago he cooked the soup. And he dropped it off with no bowls, no cups, no spoons, nothing. So I had to have somebody from my team run to the Walmart close by, grab some containers and spoon, and then I had to have somebody else there who was managing the bar put the soup in the kitchen on the burner to warm up. The good thing is that my team, we work so well together that they're open to any instructions I give them. So if like helping out this particular bride, they were just happy. They were just like, we're on it, Melody. Don't worry, we got it. That means we've developed a relationship working over time so that they just know to jump in. Even if they weren't assigned to that, they jump in and get it done. All right. So I thank God in my itinerary, I had my staff come early. I had them set up their areas early because I want to make sure that what I was hired for is done. So the buffet was set up, the bar was set up, the backdrops, we had 2 backdrops. I had my photographer, videographer, the guy with the sparkles and the cloud. They were all set and ready to go. Then I helped the bride's vendors with their things because they were running way behind. So I planned out my schedule that way so that we had time to put out this particular fire. Thank God. All right. And now we're at number 6. Hey, Crystal. Thanks for joining. Today we're on how to solve an event planning nightmare like a pro. Today we're talking about time management. And I was sharing the story of a wedding I did not too long ago where the bride didn't want to pay for the complete wedding package, so she did partial. And she did partial because she couldn't afford the price. So she decided to use her family members and friends to be DJ, MC, caterer, and it was just that part was a disaster. So because I managed my time well and had a timeline and communicated with my staff and all that, we were able to finish what we were doing and jump in and help her. For you guys on the live, if you don't know, Crystal is her company's Lady of Harp. She's a harpist that she plays at weddings and all kinds of different things. And she says, "Oh, the stories of time management." Yes, yeah. The bride was an hour late. And when she came to the church, she was almost fainting. She was hyperventilating. So I have a little toolkit that had water and different things. So we gave her the bottle of water. We were fanning her. Her dad was there holding her hand and talking with her to kind of calm her down. So by that time, that's an hour and a half. Her minister showed up 30 minutes before the ceremony and didn't attend the rehearsal. So I filled her in. And still, when they got up on stage and was doing the ceremony, the minister decided to do her own thing. So that delayed things another 30 minutes late. So now we're 2 hours. And then, so after the ceremony, we're going to the cocktail hour. The guests came in the reasonable time. The bride was like another 20 minutes late on top of that. So that's 2 hours and 20 minutes. And then her DJ that she hired, I think is a family friend, he forgot some piece of equipment and he had to drive home to go get it. That was another 20 minutes. So now we're at 2 hours and 40 minutes late. Let's see what Crystal says. She says, time means more money, which most people do not want to pay. Absolutely. I have a part of the story includes that. So that's coming next. And then she says, overtime is not pleasant for anyone. That's true. That's true. So, number 6 is be flexible. And I'm glad that Crystal brought up the extra money because that's my number 6 point. So, because the bride was late, she was, as it turns out, she was also late for the pictures. So, my photographer, videographer showed up at her Airbnb early because they wanted to get the lay of the land, see who was going to be where, make sure the bride had her dress hanging by the window, the ring and shoes and things were on the bed, this placement of different things so that they can take pictures. Nothing was done. The whole Airbnb was trashed. So the photographer had to straighten up the living room, pack things away. She didn't have to. She didn't have to, but the vendors that I work with, they love their craft and they know the value of pitching in to make sure that their best foot is put forward. So she straightened up some things in the living room, put the dress, placed the things on the bed as much as she could because she didn't want to be in the bride's personal things in case, something goes missing and then they say, well, the photographer, we don't want any of those awkwardnesses. So she did straighten up some things and help. So by that time, to get the whole place together and pictures, that was the photographer was already gave them an extra hour of time for that. And because she was an hour late getting to the church, photographer gave her some more time. So now we are towards the part where it was like almost 8 and we're going to cut the cake. And I said to the bride, well, I went up to the photographer came to me and she said, Melody, we gave the bride an extra time of video and pictures, but we're almost at the end of our shift here and we still haven't gotten the pictures of the cake being cut and the garter toss. So I go up on stage and I kind of whisper to the bride and groom, and all of a sudden the bride has amnesia. She doesn't remember the time frame of the video and photography. And she's like, well, tell them to wait. I said, they can wait. Of course. It's going to cost you for each additional hour $350. She didn't like that, but that's what it is. You can't have the people waiting and not paying them for their time. So I said, okay, they can stay. Would you like me to have them go ahead and add that time to your bill? No, she didn't want that. I'm like, okay. Then the cake is just right there. Let's just take the pictures really quickly while they're here so that we can get those must-have shots for the video and the photo. And I said, because all the delays, you've gotten extra video and photography time that they're not even going to charge you for. But if they have to stay above and beyond that, then they will charge you $350 for each additional hour. So she begrudgingly came off the stage and stood by the cake and wouldn't smile. I said, I'm not going to call her name, but I said, please smile because this is going to be in your pictures in perpetuity. So please smile and look happy and joyous. You got free time, you got additional times that you don't even have to pay for. But we really would like to get you these shots as a special memory for your wedding. Try to, soften her up and talk to her in a way that she'll understand that we are doing more above and beyond for her that, the vendors have so willingly done. But anymore, right, Crystal? Crystal is like, people can't work for free. The bride actually wanted them to work for free. And I said, I can't ask them to give you any more free time or video time. They've done above and beyond. And she eventually did the cake thing. The videographer was able to stay until the garter toss, and then he had to leave, but the photographer stayed still later to get the speeches and all that stuff because we had to do some switching around of the program because of all the lateness. So that's where staying flexible comes in. Stay flexible with switching around the program to make sure. Hi, Lisa. All right, so Crystal from Lady of Harp says, I require overtime payment before I start in cash. People don't want to pay for more services. Absolutely. Lisa, who's with Prairie Hill Flowers, has the most beautiful luxury luxe bridal bouquets of wedding flowers. She's amazing. I wish you were in Florida. Yes, so you definitely have to stay flexible. And before I ask my vendors to stay later, I make sure that there's payment. That's why I went to the bride and say, if you would like them to stay even later still, it is an additional $350 per hour. You're welcome, Lisa. $350 per hour, because I understand from a vendor perspective that your time is your money and you're there providing the service. You honored your part. Now, all the things that happen as a result of the client's mistake is not your problem. You did what you were hired to do. But the vendors I work with, even though it's not their problem, they still show up and try to support. So I make sure that they're paid. They're paid before they do the job. And if they're going to stay later, I have the client whip out the credit card and we'll charge it right away, or Zelle it, or whatever we need to do to get the vendor paid for the additional time. All right, so Lisa says, when you're adding costs during the event, how do you bill for that? Well, just like this scenario, there's a couple of ways. The first thing I do at the signing of the contract is to let the client know this is the vendor, this is the service, and this is the time frame that goes with the package. This is a time frame for this package, and this package, package A, B, and C. What package would you like? They say, oftentimes they'll try to choose a package that is the cheapest. I said, bear in mind that package C is only for 2 hours or an hour. Something happens and you're late and you need to extend the time and all that. Each additional hour is so on and so forth. And I have a credit card on file for the client. And I say, are you sure? And we walk through the timeline. We walk through getting the hair done, getting the makeup done, getting the dress done, getting the photographer to take a picture of the bride and groom, if it's a first look and all that until they get to the ceremony. So this is the amount of time. Are you sure? So and I let them know if we need to add time during the event, once you decide on how much time you want additional, we get to pay them. In fact, the last time I did that was last October. I did a company picnic, and the owner of the company, his family has a Chinese restaurant, so they were bringing food as well, and they brought it almost 2 hours late. And somebody else also came from within his family group that came with the Chinese food. They came with more meat and stuff. And so I said to the chef who was grilling, his time was up. I said, how much is it going to cost for you to stay an extra hour and cook the meat that they have here? And he said $100 more. So I had the client whip out the card and Zelle them right away, because I value people's time, and my vendors show up on time. They performed in excellence. And because the client is late, the vendor may need to stay extra if the client wants to have that service. Hey, Jody. Awesome. Thank you for coming, sweetheart. Jody is a licensed dog mediator. She's in Canada in the freezing cold. I'm sure you wish you were here in South Florida. Today we're talking about how to solve an event planning nightmare like a pro, and today's nightmare is time management. So the case study was a wedding that I did where the bride was late. By the time we got to the reception, she was like 2 hours and 40 minutes late. And she hired family and friends as vendors. And I said, they're not vetted, they're not professional. And lo and behold, a lot of things that they did just didn't flow with the timeline. But I made enough room in my schedule and organized my staff in a way that should they need us, we can jump in and help them. So that's what we did. And I shared 6 tips. So catch the replay, Jody, and you'll get the 6 tips. And on here too, Jody, is Lisa and Crystal, who is a harpist, and Monique and Dahlia. Monique, my sister. Well, Dahlia, my best neighbor. And all of the people here do have events. Hey, Georgia. Hey, beautiful. Today, we're solving an event planning nightmare. And it's the theme for these lives that I'm doing is how to solve an event planning nightmare like a pro. So I was sharing the case study of a wedding and how the bride was late and hired her family members as caterer and DJ and what else? MC and decorator. And I spaced out the time with my staff and had my checklist running so well that we were able to jump in and help her people as well. So those were the 6 tips. Thank you so much for joining me. Now, it's a lot. It's a lot to manage staff. It's a lot to manage a timeline and checklists and manage to a budget as well. That's what event planners do. And I'm here to help you. I have the pro event package. That's a hire it done kind of a package where you tell me what you want for your wedding or your party or your conference. We talk about what you want to see, what your return on investment is that you're expecting. And I take all that information and your budget and I hit the ground running to make sure that it all happens in a timely manner. In a timely manner. Now, if you're on Instagram here, the link is in the bio. Click the link, it goes to my website. And to learn more about the pro event package, once you click the link, it opens up right there and you'll be able to see it. For YouTube, the link is in the description of the slide. Same thing. Click the link to learn more, and you'll see all the details of the pro event package. That's the hashtag hire it done. So you don't have to think about it, because myself and my team will take care of all of that for you on time and in a timely manner. All right. Now, let's get connected. My email address is info@myproeventplanners. If you have any questions on event time management, or how to delegate at an event, or how to have your checklist, all the things you want to know that we talked about today, let's connect. info@myproeventplanners.com. Okay. Thank you so much for joining me today. Tomorrow, I'll have another topic, another event planning nightmare that we're going to solve. This is just free content. I name all the problems and go through them one by one, and then give you some actionable tips that are really simple that you can do yourself. And if you don't want to be bothered with checklists and managing people and checking things and all that, we can do that for you. Okay? Thank you so much for joining, and I will see you tomorrow.